4 games on Thursday. My man Scottie Barnes dominating again. We're going to recap it all. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and I would like a scooped gluten-free bagel, and I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. And you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA, all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. 4 games today. Did a mailbag show earlier on with the big fella Dan Titus. Did a look-ahead show to Friday. And I actually, you know what? I actually completely forgot to mention that it is the first day of the NBA's in-season tournament. And are the teams taking it serious? Well, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is out with a sore knee. So you tell me. I'm guessing it's somewhat of a real injury. But yeah, this idea that the in-season tournament is a panacea for competitiveness, which again, the lack of competitiveness is somewhat overstated, yeah. We'll see how it goes. But I'm excited to see how things look with the crazy courts they're throwing out there. But it is the first day of the in-season tournament tomorrow with 7 games. On Friday, we're going to go through some news that I haven't covered in the earlier shows today. So not a huge amount that's actually broken since then. And then we look at some waiver wire trends, and then we get into recapping the 4 games and wrapping it up with the lines of the night. So let's recap Thursday's action. Thursday's 4 games. 4 games is better than 2 across the NBA. And we'll start here with some news. Again, nothing really changed from what we've talked about earlier, but we did get confirmation, as I expected earlier today, that Scoot Henderson is going to be out. All of the other ones we still don't know, like Garland and Allen, but we did get an update from Terrence Mann about his ankle, and it looks like he might be a little bit of time away. Now, we're obviously not rostering Terrence Mann in 10s or 12s, or probably even 14-team leagues. His value wasn't high anyway, and it sunk pretty precipitously now that James Harden's been traded there, but he's a little bit of time away. With Scoot out and Simons out, tons of Brogdon, tons of Sharp, more Kamara. Maybe they play 15, 16 minutes of Skylar Mays. Their guard depth is putrid. Does Ryan Rupert jump into the rotation? Like, he is nowhere near ready. It's going to be very ugly to watch there. Look, if Brogdon can't play 40, Sharp might play 48 minutes. Honestly, like, he played 42 last game. He might have to play just a million minutes in that game with Scoot out. And it doesn't appear like Scoots is serious, which is great. Maybe he's back. I think their next game is on Sunday. And we'll see what happens or how all of that transpires with Scoot's ankle injury. Let's catch up on some waiver wire trends before we do start getting in to recap the action across the NBA. Let's start with the most added players over the last 24 hours. Most of these were to stream in today, but not all of them. Number 1 was Grayson Allen up 25%, with Devin Booker returning to the Suns lineup today. We can probably feel okay longer term about moving on from Allen. They still do have a Saturday, Sunday back-to-back, so there's value there, although Beal might return for one of them. Jalen Suggs up 16%, while he was a good stream because the Magic played today, and he's also been playing really well, so I get that one. Eric Gordon, obviously a scheduled stream, up 15%. Denny Avdia up 13%. Now, they play tomorrow, so there's going to be use in that. He took a lot of shots in the last game. I'm not sure how realistic that's going to be. And Dan Gafford is still questionable. So I don't mind adding Avdia. Marvin Bagley was obviously an ad because people thought that Jalen Duren was going to miss. Jalen Duren did not miss, so obviously you can jack Marvin Bagley off. And Dorian Finney-Smith up 12%. With those guys still out in Brooklyn, with Claxton and Johnson still out, and there's still a cloud over Spencer Dinwiddie, then yes, Finney-Smith is providing some value at the moment, probably gets another start, and he is worth a grab, at least until some other players return. That's where that sits in terms of the most dropped players in fantasy basketball over the last 24 hours. Number 1 is Isaac Okoro. Fair enough. We've seen the bloom come off the rose a little bit there, and it will start to decline even further when Garland and Allen do return. Aaron Nesmith down 10%. Well, they got absolutely pantsed yesterday. He was just not a 12-team league option in my mind. Bones Highland, great, but the Clippers don't play anymore this week. And then the next time they play, Harden's probably going to be there. And Bones is not going to get even those 5 minutes probably. He'll get 5. Maybe he'll double the 5-minute man. He won't do too much there, so he's a clear drop. Lou Dort, yep, don't know why everyone added him, but yeah, you can drop him. Kobe White down 8. You know my thoughts on Kobe. I'm probably giving him until the end of the weekend. 2 more quality games this week. Do something, my guy. You've got the minutes. You're shooting at like historically low, bad numbers for you. I think his shooting numbers last season were amazing, and now they are putrid. Now they're Lou Dort numbers. They're going to improve from here, but I'm not going to wait around forever. And Alex Caruso down 7%. Not really sure why Alex Caruso was down 7%. He might actually take over a starting job from Pat Williams or Kobe White coming up in the next couple of days. So not sure why Caruso would have dropped that much. I guess it's just to get an extra player in today, and he would be considered expendable in that scenario. But yeah, just I guess a little surprising to see that he was actually rostered in enough leagues to be dropped in that percentage of leagues. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. It's also the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It is just you against the numbers, nothing else. No pros, no sharks, no salary caps, no spreadsheets, no algorithms. It's you looking at individual player projections on 2 to 6 players and choosing more or less. That is all you need to do. You go in there, you find what it is, whether it is like Steph Curry at 29 points and you go, well, more. Or you see Jokic at 10 rebounds and you go, more. Or you see Gary Trent at 30 minutes and you go, way less, hit way less. And you can get up to 25 times your entry fee back when you get 6 of those ones correct. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Use the lowercase code though. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. And that will bring us into the first game of the day. The Toronto Raptors, my Toronto Raptors, took on the Philadelphia 76ers. And they did not get where they needed to go. 114 Philadelphia, 99 Toronto. But let's talk about my favorite player, Scott Barnes. That makes it sound like I actually don't like him. I do. But nobody with a straight face can argue that Scottie Barnes was not disappointing last season. He was. And this season he is absolutely flying, and he did it again. 35 minutes, 24, 8, and 8, 2 threes, and shot 56%, 100% from the line. He was minus 11 somehow, but that's fine. 24 usage. He's leading the team in usage. Actually, he was second behind Trent, but whatever. That's fine. Why did I get Barnes' projection wrong? Well, so far, the reason I got Barnes' projection wrong is I didn't project him to average 2 blocks per game because he averaged under 1 per game last season. And I would say that is a giant, red, flashing, sell-high beacon. He will not average 2 blocks per game. I feel pretty confident in that. He might average 1.3. That is true. He might average 1.4. That is true. He won't do 2. The other thing, and I've mentioned this every single year on this podcast, there is usually 1 or 2 players who take absolute gigantic, out of the blue, 10 percentage point true shooting leaps. Last season, Shea. In the past, Brandon Ingram. But going in and projecting someone to become a completely different player by pulling that name firmly out of your ass is a really irresponsible thing to do in terms of projections. So Barnes' true shooting has gone from like 52 to 63 this season. He's hitting his free throws at an extra 7 or 8 percentage points. His 2-point rate is up at like I think 7 percentage points, and his 3-point rate is up 10 percentage points. Right? These are gigantic leaps. And I am not even ruling out that he keeps shooting at 54% from the field and 39 from 3 and 85 from the line. I'm not ruling that out. But part of the reason that I was down on him is we can project minutes, we can project extra usage, and I did bump his usage from 20 to 23 from last season to this season. But it's very hard to just find the random one player who's going to have a 10 percentage point bump in efficiency, which is what Barnes has had. Congratulations to him. That stuff might stick. He has been awesome at it, but that is why I got the projection wrong on him. It's also why I indicated in one of the shows, I don't remember which show, when I was talking about players who could I think maybe it was the Raptors preview show, and I said players who could very easily smash through my projection. It was him. Right? That opportunity was there. He has been great. He is leading this team. He's putting so many great stats up there. I would caution that there is efficiency regression maybe, and there's definitely block regression coming. but he was great. Dennis Schroeder, I would say there's also a little bit of a risk of regression. 13 points, 10 assists. I've never seen Dennis Schroeder put up this level of assist numbers. We had a level of confidence he would start, and that was even a debate back in September. Like, man, Gary Trent's going to start. They need the spacing. Like, maybe it's Schroeder, right? And it's clearly Schroeder, but he's never been this guy. He's never been this assist legend. He's been a guy who's played some improved defense with iffy shooting. He's doing amazing stuff. He is clearly must roster. It's awesome. And then on the other side, if you want to talk about things gotten wrong, well, I was out on Siakam. His bloody head was posted on my thumbnail for busts of the season. I don't expect this, though. Shout out to contract years. 10 points, 33 minutes, no threes, no steals, no blocks, under 18% usage. Outside the top 100 in category leagues. Outside the top 75 in points leagues. We said that the vibes were absolutely shitful at Media Day with veiled digs being thrown towards Siakam about selfishness. Something's not right here. It smells. Is he going to be moved? Whatever. Is he quiet quitting? Like, what is going on with this guy? Like, again, it would have been very irresponsible to suggest, and I did suggest, I am not interested in Siakam at all at his current ADP because the expectation was that Barnes and Siakam would take on all of Van Vliet's usage. And as it turns out, Barnes has gotten it and Siakam has not. It has not changed at all. So I was out on Siakam, but not like this. What do we do? Well, the easy answer is nothing. You can't do anything. You wait on it, and you hope that he bounces back, and he surely does at some point. But it's getting a little worrisome, yeah? It's getting a little worrisome. Solid enough from Pirtle, 9 and 9, while Anunoby had 16 points with 4 rebounds and 2 threes. That's all pretty solid. Gaz Trent, we can easily jack him off. 8 points in 23 minutes for him, while Grady Dick went scoreless in 14. We still don't have Precious Achiuwa back for this team, though. But very clear that Trent is not just going to gobble up the 30 bench minutes that he would need to be a 12-team league player. On to the Sixers. The trade was official, and that none of the guys played. Now, I am not here willing to say that that will be what is going to happen every night because I just don't think it'll be the case. But interestingly, we saw Covington and KJ Martin play the final minute of the game in garbage time. I would be stunned, shocked, if the guys that they acquired, Covington and Martin in particular, even Batum, if he plays, he's not there for personal reasons. I don't know if that's to do with his family situation. I'm not sure. But I would be stunned if Nick Nurse decides, no, you know what? Furkan Korkmaz, if nobody's got us, Furkan's got us. Like Furkan Al, like there's no way that is going through Nick Nurse's head, surely, right? How is that going to be a real thing? But that's what happened in this game. So again, we can look at this and freak out and go, my God, Covington and Martin are not in the rotation. If this happens for 3 more games, then I'll say, shit, that's wild. Like, that's crazy. But I'm not that worried about that here. As for Furky from Turkey, he had 10 points with 3 steals in 22 minutes. Cool, go back to playing 0 minutes soon, my guy. Obviously, you're dropping Paul Reed, who is only playing backup center minutes. Shout out to Nick Nurse and Lying. Never met a better combo than that. Well, the thick Hogsman, 23 minutes for Toby Harris. 23 points, actually. 40 minutes for Toby Harris. 2 threes and 3 steals. He's in prime position to put up big numbers. And Embiid shot poorly from the field, but excellent from the line, 28 and 13. Not the best Maxey night. 18, 1 and 4, 2 steals, 44%. He had obviously been rolling as a top 10, top 5 player. Fell back a little bit here outside the top 10, but whatever. And then Kelly Oubre. Now, I did post a clip of me talking about Oubre the other day, and I got people, maybe part of the reason I posted it was to get people a bit riled up. And I said, I actually think Oubre's situation, it definitely didn't get better. It maybe got worse, right? Because, my point was that Harden wasn't playing, and they brought in guys who might play. Now, Oubre, in this game, scored 23 points, totally reasonable. Totally very good, actually, and shot 62%. But I think we know the Kelly Oubre story. If the shots don't go in, there's nothing else. And they've gone in 2 games. And in the other games, they haven't gone in. And my point still remains. Does he stay as a starter? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know if he will. But his situation did not improve after the trade. His implied situation might have improved if you assumed Harden was returning, and I 100% agree with that. But it didn't improve from what we'd already seen, and this is fine. Not a great night from DeAnthony Melton. 21 minutes, 4, 5, and 5, 17%. I do not move off my position that DeAnthony Melton is a must-roster player. Weird to see him play 21, though, while Pat Beverly played 28, when the minutes had always been in Melton's favour. I wouldn't say that Melton played particularly poorly here. He did have a couple of turnovers and had some fouls at one point, but it didn't look like to be a big problem. Just a weird rotational decision. We'll keep an eye on that one. I sounded like bloody Richo. Yeah, it's down at ground level. Anyone understands what that is? Please let me know. And I think that's probably about it for your Philadelphia 76ers. So still questions to be asked. If you did add Covington to see what would happen after the trade, let's wait and see what happens next game. Because again, this just doesn't feel realistic that every player that came across will not play a single second for the team. That doesn't feel real. So I'd just like to hold, wait, see where we go. Maybe we're proven wrong after one or two more games. Or maybe I'm proven wrong after one or two more games. Could be. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. You can go and put those bets on. Maybe you want to do it against the Washington Wizards. That feels like a way to be able to get those bonus bets money in because they're not a very good team. And maybe the Blazers are a better team without Scoot. That's possible too. But you can then use your bonus bets on all of the things they've got available. Parlays, futures, spreads, totals, over-unders, player props. It's all over there on FanDuel. NFL, NBA, the in-season tournament. Maybe you want to bet the winner of that. You can do that all over at FanDuel. So go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and tip off the NBA in-season tournament. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. That brings us into Game 2. That would follow straight after Game 1 because I know numbers. The Pelicans get the win 125-116 over the Pistons. The Pelicans were very undermanned. The Pistons also undermanned. Every shooter in the world just not available for them apparently. No Bogdanovic, no Burks, no Morris, no Livers. So the spacing around Cade Cunningham continues to suck. Cade is still doing okay. I think he had 3 fouls in 10 minutes in the first half, and that's all he played. But he still ended with 34 minutes, so basically played most of the second half. 22, 2, and 11, but his efficiency is rough. 36% and 4 of 5 from the line, 36 usage, but the spacing around him is horrible, and I think that is going to have to improve at some point. Jalen Duren returned 25 minutes, 12 and 5. He got ejected in the final minute of the game. He also had 5 fouls, so his minutes were a bit low, and same with Asar Thompson, who had one of the wildest first. I think he took 15 shots in the first half, including 3 airball threes in the first quarter. He finished with 16, 7, and 5 and a block, which is overall a very, very strong counting stat line. He is clearly a must-roster player, but 29% from the field on 17 attempts is disastrous. At least he went 6 of 7 from the line. There were opportunities to bring him back in at the end of the game, but they chose to go with some other players who were playing well because the Pistons were down big and they sort of started to fight back with other guys there. Don't be too worried here about Thompson's minutes, but do absolutely 100% be worried about Jaden Ivey. He played just 22 minutes. He had 12 and 7, but now not only is he not starting with Killian Hayes ahead of him, but he's coming off the bench behind Marcus Sasser, and that's without Morris and Burks and Bogdanovic in the rotation. It feels like he might get back to this, but even as a 31-minute-a-night guy, he was like a back-end flyer. Let's see what happens. As a 20-minute-a-night, maybe 8th man, we're jacking like so machine gunny, like it's gone. See you later. He's out of here. Bye-bye. How about Killian Hayes, though? 39 minutes, 10 points. But he did the thing. He had 9 assists. He had a steal. He hit 2 threes. He shot 50%, and we do not need to hold him. Am I burying the important thing here? I think a little bit, because Marcus Sasser was good for the second straight game. Yesterday's game, I said, let's just watch this, because this is a very interesting line. Now, again, caveats out there. No Burks, no Morris, no Bogdanovic. So where does he fit in? But going by this, he is ahead of Ivy, and maybe he's ahead of Hayes at some point. 23 minutes, 19, 2 and 3, 5 threes, 60% shooting. He was somehow a minus 14. He is a good shooter. He is a good defender. He is small and he's older for a rookie. I don't think that, this is the perfect scenario for him to be a 12-team league option with all of these guys out. And he's still sort of on the fringes. More of a 16-team stream, 14-team stream guy. But he's pushing up. He's looking solid. And don't be shocked if he finds a rotation role next to Morris, or even if he plays over Monte Morris, to be honest. He's looking pretty solid. Isaiah Stewart, after the really hot start to the season, I've never seen someone elf Stewart as hard as elf Stewart is elf Stewarting at the moment. This is just him. 11-8. He's almost Monty Morrising, but as a big guy. 11-8, 2 blocks, 43 from the field, 67 from the line. It's the same shit we have seen from this guy every single time. So he started off amazingly, and you go, oh, maybe he's a 12-team league guy. And now he has reverted basically back exactly to projections of a low-end, close to double-double player with iffy percentages who you're not excited that there's any breakout potential, and that's sort of where he's at. So if you're in a 10-teamer, I wouldn't bother holding on to Isaiah Stewart. If you're in a 12, he's very borderline, but I don't really see huge breakout potential. Obviously, we're dropping Marvin Bagley, who had 6 and 9 and 13 minutes. Shout out to Jim Wiseman as well, who played 0 minutes. The Pelicans were without Brandon Ingram again with a knee injury. Zion was resting on the back-to-back. No Najee Marshall, no Jose Alvarado, and no Trey Murphy. So, of course, their team was led by Herb Jones and Matt Ryan. Cool. Let's talk Jonesy, because he had been, I think, struggling a little bit. Really not doing much apart from being a steal specialist. And he went, Josh, you're just a hater. You're a hater. I went, fair enough, Herbie. He dropped 21 points with 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, and 4 blocks on 86% shooting and 9 and 9 from the line. So if you've ever seen a fake fantasy basketball line in your life, this is it. Is Herb Jones going to be a 9 free throw attempt player every game and hit all of them? Nope. Will he shoot 86%? Absolutely not. He still only had 14 usage with everybody out. Will he ever block 4 shots and 3 steals in a game again? I'm going to venture probably not either. And he's not even going to be a 34-minute-a-night guy, I don't think, when this team gets fully healthy, if they ever do. So this is great. It was sexy. He was my 10-team category stream of the day, which is a thumb up. But this is not a realistic indication of production for Herb. Absolutely no shock at all. And this pattern is absolutely as clear as day as you will find in any pattern in the NBA. No Zion, so 33 minutes for Valanciunas. 23 and 13, 5 assists and 3 blocks. Zion will come back. He'll play 21 minutes and be okay, but he'll play low minutes. And that meant that Larry Nance played less, 4 points in 15 minutes. CJ McCollum, a gigantic sell high as well. 40.5 usage. They won this game by 9 points, and he was a minus 17. 33, 4, and 5, but at least he went 10 of 11 from the line. He's been very, very strong to start the season. I honestly do not buy it at all, and I'd be more than happy to move on. You're well aware of my take on him. And then Matty Ice, drilled 3 threes in about the first 2 minutes of the game. Had 20 points, 6 triples, 35 minutes, 70% shooting. He's only good for threes, and he's only good because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rotation players are out. They need his shooting, sure, but when Ingram and Zion and Trey Murphy eventually and Marshall, there's not enough minutes there for him. So stream him for threes on a day like this and maybe on the next one, but Zion will return. And that's it. Well, Geordie Hawkins, 29 minutes. Shots aren't going in, mate. 6-1-0, 14% for Hawko. He is no more than a streamer, but you probably even lean a little bit more towards Ryan as a more accomplished NBA three-point shooter at this point in their respective careers. All right, let's do the next game. It's the Orlando Magic beating the Utah Jazz 115-113 with some interesting finish to the game. Trading back and forwards between Paolo Banchero and Lauri Markkanen. Really just an entertaining game. Apparently it was the first time that the Magic have, not apparently, actually was, no apparent about it, it's a fact. First time the Magic have won in Utah since 2015. So shout out to them for getting that curse done with. So let's look at it. We had been talking, in fact, me and Titus talked about it this morning, about Paolo Banchero and people being worried about and his struggles. And he said, all right, those 2 fantasy dickheads, can they shut up? Because I'm ready to rock. 30 and 9, 5 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, 69 from the field. What do you got? 11 of 15 from the line, which is not perfect, but a 73%. That's probably, he was like 291st before today. It's probably going to bang him up 100 spots at least. So, at least he's not washed, which we never thought he was, of course. It was just a terrible start, and he was good now. But they copped a couple of injuries because pre-game, we got word through the Magic that Marco Fultz was out due to knee swelling. And that is not ideal. Not ideal at all. So we hope that Fultz is okay, but that means that minutes open up in the backcourt. And then Gary Harris started in place of Fultz, and then Gary Harris got hurt. So we are absolutely chewing all full steam ahead onto Cole Anthony and Jalen Suggs while these 2 statuses are up in the air. Cole played 31 minutes, 18, 7, 7, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and I get a feeling he is going to be the village bicycle this season. He's already been on my team, I think, twice, off it again, and he's going to be back on. And then Suggsy, you look at that line, you go, that's not great from Suggs. Why did he only play 21 minutes? I'll tell you why. He had 4 fouls. And he shot 14%. Also putrid. But 6 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals. Cole and Suggs both belong on 12 teams at the moment until we figure out what is going on with Harris and Fultz here, because they're going to get minutes. And if you're in a deeper league, Mr. Black is worth grabbing. Anthony Black, 16 minutes, 9-3-1 with 2 steals, shot 100%. Missed a key free throw down the stretch, but that's for deeper leagues. The other one to watch is the other guy that people have been complaining and bitching nonstop about, Wendell Carter Jr. There's a silver lining, but also what's the opposite of a silver lining? Like a shit-stained cover? I don't know. Something. Because he had 14 and 10, he hit 3 threes, he had a block, and you go, all right, let's go. Wendell, we are back. We've never been more back. And then 1 second to go in the game, he grabs a rebound, he gets fouled, falls on his finger, runs straight to the locker room. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So what happens now? So me recording this at the moment, and I do have some injury news to talk about that broke while I was in the middle of recording this show about Lakers player, Gabe Vincent. I might as well just tell you now, he's got knee fusion. He's out at least 2 weeks. So if you've got Gabe Vincent in your 14-teamers or your 12, see you later. And that boosts the value of Cam Reddish, deeper leagues, maybe Max Christie. But it super helps Reeves and Russell with Vincent out. Also, probably helps Prince a little bit well. Not too much there, though. Anyway, that's that one beside the point. But if Wendell misses, we know one of the best, not quite the best, but one of the best. What a caveat this is. One of the best per-minute German centers in the NBA, Mo Wagner, second behind Isaiah Hartenstein. They're both still really good at it. He will start and he will be good. 10 points, 2 blocks for Wagner in 19 minutes. That's Wagner Mo, Flaming Mo. He would be a 12-team ad, absolutely. Like if Wendell's got a broken finger that sidelines him 4, we add Mo. And then in deeper leagues, not the dart, it is the dart because Goga Badadze would be the guy we add, and he's another guy. They've got 2 absolute monster permanent backup centers here in Goga and Mo, and they would both move into 12-team for Mo, 14-team for Goga, unless they start Goga, and then he also becomes a 12-team streamer. So there you go. That's all of that stuff. Franz Wagner, he's been really good to start this season. 21, 4, and 5 with 4 steals and 2 threes. I called for more aggression from him. I called for him to take more shots, and he is, and it's been very, very sexy. Joe Ingles started the second half for Gary Harrison. I'm sorry to Joe. He's a legend of Australian basketball. I think he's washed. I think he might be cooked. He's not the same guy. The ACL at age 34 might have finished him off, unfortunately, for Joe. 4 points in 24 minutes. Hopefully he comes out and proves me wrong. Locked on Fantasy Basketball NBA player guest legend Joe Ingles. Hopefully he's not still listening to the show, but I think he's in a little bit of trouble here. Hopefully not. For the Jazz, let's talk a few things. Lauri Markkanen hit the shot that might have been the game winner, but then Paolo got it back. 22 and 7, 4 threes, 2 steals. Missed both his free throws weirdly, but I don't really care about any of that because all those numbers are fine and dandy. They're sexy. They're whatever. But he hurt his arm like pretty early on in the first half, I think it was, and he just kept wincing and flexing it and straining it. Remember he played through a forearm issue at the end of last season and they used that as a fake excuse to tank and sit down the stretch, but he was not comfortable at all with his arm. So just, we keep an eye on that now. If he does miss, what do they do? Do they start Simone Fontecchio? Yuck. Do they start Oshae Abaji? Like also yuck. Or could they start Horton Tucker at the 3 with ball handling duties and then bring another guard in like Sexton or the speaker Keno George? Or do they start Luka Šamanić? Also yuck. A lot of different options that they could run with. So let's watch that. Let's talk about the Baptist, very clearly his best game. Now there's been a lot of talk about how good John Collins has been this season. Before today, he wasn't a top 130 player, but he was good here. 20 and 10 with 3 threes and a block on 70% shooting. Much better game. And Clarko's dropped 2 big games in a row, Jordan, the man on the street. 21, 6 and 6 on 25% shooting, mind you. But everything else was really good, including 9 of 9 from the line. Couple of other things we need to touch on. Walker Kessler, I'm not convinced on it, but 22 to 26 minutes seems like what is going to happen now. Now, this line is totally fine. If he hadn't shot 33% from the field and gone 66%, we'd be on 8 and 10, 5 blocks. Actually pretty good, yeah. But he didn't. The 10 rebounds are still good. The 5 blocks is there winning you blocks alone. Wish I had a sound effect for doing that wink. That is still okay, but the chances of him pushing into 30 minutes a night regularly, they feel dead. Don't drop him. Must roster player still. The other one is Kelly Olynyk had 4, 2, and 3 with 3 steals. He was on the court at the end to close the game. But let's talk point guards. Let's talk Horton Tucker. 31 minutes, 15, 3, and 8, 3 steals and a block. And you know that I'm very anti-Horton Tucker as a starting caliber point guard in the NBA. I'm not going to hide that opinion. He was really good here. He was mid last game and he was putrid like 2 games before that. He's very up and down. And again, even though I see this game, which is really good and it's very useful for fantasy, before today, he was not a top 160 player. Remember that? This is a 12-team line. There's no question about that. Him playing 31 minutes, which I believe is a season high. It still doesn't take away from my feelings that at some point he will lose this job. Now, so I don't get misquoted, miscomment. Like sometimes, I don't know, it is hard doing this job. It's not hard. I watch basketball and talk on camera. It's not that hard. But it is hard because I'll say things and it gets misinterpreted. I had someone chirp at me today, hey, I thought you said Şengün was going to go backwards. Like, what? No, I didn't. What are you talking about? Never said that at all. But you can say little snippets of certain things and it gets misconstrued. So let's be really clear about this again. I have got Keyonte George on 3 of my 7 non-dynasty teams for this season. I grabbed him about 4 days ago maybe, because I just saw a little bit of spark, him looking better, trying to invest in getting a 30-minute-a-night point guard when we head into December, right? Get ahead of the curve a little bit. My teams are looking strong. I'm not bashed by injuries, and just trying to hold it and get ahead a little bit because I could sort of see it tilting. But if Horton Tucker plays like this, George won't last on my team. I will not stash him forever. He is a luxury stash, and I described this yesterday. I've got the luxury to hold him, so I will. He was okay here. Keyonte, 6 points, 3 assists, 17 minutes. It's not fantastic, but he got to the line 5 times, which is always great for a rookie. But if nothing switches, if we're here at Thanksgiving and George is still playing minutes that are equivalent to Colin Sexton, then he's gone. And then I'll re-add him later on. That's how we use the back end of our roster. We take a crack at guys. We take a flyer. Is this something? And you might be thinking the exact same thing back in Detroit. Call back to earlier. Maybe you think Marcus Sass is that guy who has a chance at taking a starting job away from Killian Hayes and holding off Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic and all those guys. Maybe that's true. And you might think that. I don't, but you might. And therefore, if you've got an ability to stash and hold and you see what develops. Although Sass has got more of an ability to contribute in the short term than what George does. So I'm sticking by it, and I have this rule every single year. When I'm doing a luxury stash type situation where there is a path that I can see it, like a Men Thompson, no path. Even before the injury, he just wasn't getting through those group of guys ahead of him. Like he just wasn't getting there. Right? We saw the rotation. There was no path for it. I still see a path because George could come out, have 5 points on 9 shots and play 22. George Horton Tucker have 5 points on 9 shots with 3 assists in 22 minutes next game. And I go, oh, we're back open. Because I do still think, I firmly believe in the talent and I think it will win out. But if nothing rolls in 2 weeks or those teams with George get 3 injuries on him and I'm at real games play disadvantages each week, then he's gone. He gets cut. See ya. Bye. You too, Shushi. Out of here. Right? So that is how I approach it. It is not, he will win you the league. It is not any of that. And this one here makes me again lean more towards, ooh, you're on the verge. You're on the verge. But I'm still just going to hold tight for a little bit of time, see how it plays out. And I feel like I've explained this enough times now, and you're probably going, just shut the fuck up. You've said it enough. Okay, we're done. We're done. We're talking about that one now. All right, so I did get an update on Wendell Carter Jr. He has a fractured finger, third metacarpal in his left hand. The left hand is better than right, but I guess it depends which joint it is. Is it the top of his finger? Then maybe he's okay. If it's down in his hand, then that's 4 weeks. So the immediate thought here is, and I know I'm jeopardizing myself because I'm in leagues with you guys, go and add Mo Wagner, right? We flame it up. We add Mo. Deeper leagues, we add Goga. I don't even think we hesitate. Even if we think that even if Wendell returns, the right move, the correct process move, is to add Mo Wagner here. I talked about it, like maybe, but now we know. Broken finger, broken metacarpal, could be hand, could be finger. Like metacarpal could be there, as you can see right there, right? Or it could be down here, in the middle of your hand. That's a metacarpal there too. And that, in the middle of your hand, screws you 4 weeks. So we'll see what happens. But not great for Wendell, and opening up a big opportunity for Mo Wagner to be a very, 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 very viable fantasy player and should be grabbed, I think, in every 12-team league. It might blow up complete. It might Dayron Sharp us. That's true. Mo Wagner comes out, Wendell comes out, and fine, or plays, or we get Goga playing over Wagner. Totally possible. Process would suggest we go add Mo, and we see what happens. The final game of the night. What is going on? Like, what is going on? And I'll tell you what's going on. It's not actually hard to figure out what's going on, and that is Victor Wembanyama is absolutely ridiculous. The Suns lose to the Spurs for the second consecutive game. It wasn't on a last-second bullshit. It was 132-121 in Phoenix because Wemby dropped 38 points with 10 rebounds and 3 threes and 1 steal and 2 blocks. He had a 38 usage as a rookie, center, and had power forward, 58% shooting and went 5 of 6 from the line. That's dumb. That's stupid. This guy will be the number 1 fantasy player next year. Maybe. I don't know. That is the number 1 player. That is a number 1 player coming up really, really soon. Year 3, 100% guaranteed. Lock it in. Number 1 player in year 3. You can pin this clip somewhere. This is stupid. Zach Collins, one of the biggest sleeper hits that we had, I think. 35 minutes, 19, 8, and 4 with 3 threes. If you knew what the news was, you knew that he was starting and you knew he was a good player. And he's exceeded expectations. While Trey Jones, really good again. 12 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds. Now, he probably wouldn't have played this much had Jeremy Sohan not gotten into foul trouble. But those 10 assists are invaluable and you probably will want them on your roster. Well, Sohan actually was good as well. 14, 5, and 9 and shot 54%, blocked a shot. He did have foul trouble. That's why the minutes pushed down. But he was playing well also. And how about our mate, Horsecock Keldon Johnson? 7 points on 27%. You go, it's the old Keldon, isn't it, Joshy? Except it's not. 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and a block. That would have taken Keldon a whole season to rack up those numbers last year. And he's done it a couple of times. Shout out to him for dialing back the usage when there are better players around and focusing on other areas, because he's never shown that. And that's really good. On the sad side of things, Devin Vassell did not play in the second half with groin soreness. They started Malachi Branham in his place, and Branham is one of those guys who, I can't think of the perfect corollary to who he is, but he's one of those players that when there's everybody out of the way, he'll get the ball, he'll take shots, he'll score Cam Thomas, he'll score a lot, and he'll look like this great option. He had 3 points on 14% shooting, didn't do too much else, he had 3 assists. And with Jones, Sohan, Johnson, Wemby, Collins, even if he does start for Vassell, I think he's going to be a little bit lost, and I wouldn't prioritize him as a 12-team ad. Maybe 14s, you want to have a look, but he's a guy that doesn't have super sexy per 36 or per minute fantasy value and sort of needs a bunch of guys to clear out so he can bump up his usage. Chetty Osman probably gets a bit of a boost as well if Vassell is out, 13 points with 3 threes. There's not many streaming options on this team, and he's one of them. I thought we'd be talking about just how good Devin Booker is, and we will, because he was great. He was the number 1 on a per-game basis. He only played 1 game, but he was number 1 in fantasy prior to today. And he had 31, 9, and 13 with 5 threes on 53% shooting and 6 of 6 from the line. Not going to probably knock him down from there, I wouldn't have thought. He's been awesome. You know, I talked about him as a possible first-round player this season on the back of improving assists, and the assists are through the roof. I don't know how that looks when Brad Beal returns. Maybe we'll see on the weekend. But he is their best passer, and he's their best player. Sorry, KD. I think Booker's their best player. KD had 28 and 6 with 2 blocks, but what's going on? 5 of 9 from the line. Durant's been a little bit disappointing. And then the trio of streamers, we learnt something here, is that Grayson Allen and Eric Gordon are okay-ish until Beal returns. Allen had 16, 2, and 4, and Gordon played 24 minutes for 7 points. But Jordan Goodwin's going to be out of the rotation. 10 minutes, 3 points, 3 assists, and a steal. He played 9 minutes 33 exactly, and when Beal returns, he just won't play. Josh Okogie, 12 minutes, benched in the second half, and they started Yuta Watanabe. They needed to get something rolling. I wouldn't say Yuta really answered their prayers, and we got some decent minutes, actually some pretty good minutes from Keita Bates-Diop. Now, when all of the moves happened in free agency, I thought Bates-Diop was going to be the starter. I thought he made a lot of sense as a sizable defensive forward who can shoot, and he's never really got an opportunity so far. I don't know if this indicates he's getting that opportunity, but interesting. The other interesting thing, how about old mate Drew Eubanks with 27 minutes and Nurkic with 19? Eubanks was an excellent stream this week, and he delivered 13 and 5 with a block while Nurk struggled. 7 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Keep rolling with Eubanks because they've got a back-to-back on the weekend. Okogie, yeah, look, that's not great, and I'd feel okay about dropping him if it wasn't for that back-to-back, but see where you go. Like the value of Gordon, Okogie, Goodwin very obviously has dropped with Booker back, and if Beal returns across the weekend, then the value of every one of those guys, including Grayson Allen, disappears pretty quickly there, I think. So, let us What do we do now? I know what we're going to do. We've got to recap the streams of the day. How did they work out today? Let's take a look. The 10-team category streamer of the day was Herb Jones. What an absolutely massive W that was. 21, 5 and 3, 3 steals and 4 blocks. Absolutely sensational stuff from Herb. The 12-team category stream, not so good. 7, 1 and 1 with a steal and a block for Eric Gordon, and the fantasy point streamer was Gordon at 15.7. Didn't work out super great. Our 14-team category stream did work out really good. Grayson Allen, 16, 2 and 4 for 14 teams is really strong. And then for 16-team category, it was Jordan Goodwin, who was available in over 90% of leagues, and he didn't do anything. 7 and 1, a steal and a block. It's not terrible, but it's not great. That would bring us now to talk about the monstrous line of the night. There are 2 candidates here. Who do you think gets it? Well, I'll tell you who gets it, and you can argue with it as much as you want. That's okay. I don't mind. The monstrous line of the night is Devin Booker. 31 points, 9 rebounds, and 13 assists. Just nudging out the big fella, who might get another award here in a second. The waiver wire line of the night, the player who best performed while being rostered in under 50% of fantasy leagues. That player was Cole Anthony with 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. Your young gun of the night, the best fantasy performer in their first or second season in the NBA. It was going to be Paolo Banchero, but it's not, because Victor Wembanyama exists. 38 points, 10 rebounds, 3 threes, 2 blocks. He's insane. And the dud of the night. Let's go back very, very early into the day. Let's go to Philadelphia. And let's swim it up with the wave pool. D'Anthony Melton, 4 points, 5 rebounds, 17% shooting. Lastly, we're going to go in and look at the top 6 players in category leagues, in waiver wire options, and in points leagues. So your top 6 category league players today: Booker, Herb Jones, Victor Wembanyama. Actually, Victor probably pushed ahead of Herb there, but there's some fuzzy math on some of that. That's fine. Valanciunas at 4, Paolo at 5, and Scottie Barnes at 6. Your top 6 players who are under 50% rostered are: number 1, Cole Anthony, absolutely worth a grab. Marcus Sasser, maybe. Taylor Horton-Tucker's available in 65% of leagues. After that performance, you can be okay to grab him. I just don't think there's long-term value in it. Matt Ryan, Dyson Daniels, I don't even think I talked about Daniels' line, and Killian Hayes with 9 assists. They're okay. That is just real streaming stuff, though, given the particular situations that all of those players found themselves in today. And lastly, the top 6 points league players for Yahoo Fantasy Points today. Number 1 was Wembanyama, followed by Banchero, Booker, Valanciunas, Joel Embiid, and Herbalife Jones comes in 6th. And that does it for me today. Don't forget to follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and on Odyssey and on YouTube. Please thumb it up and leave your comments down below. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.